Hello, hello. Hello and welcome. We are going live. It's the Sabinar Saturday, or it's Sabinar Saturday. And I'm your host, and here I am, ready or not. Well, basically I'm not. As you can see, I'm still getting my coffee ready. It's been minor panic. But you know, I have this kind of philosophy. It's that until you're late, well, you're not late. So why hurry? And then when you're late, well, go for it. So that's what I do. So here we are. It's Sabinar Saturday here in the creative smartphone photography group, and it's the place. If you're a creative person, if you love your smartphone and you adore photography, then this is the place to be, the creative smartphone photography place. If you're watching this video outside of there, then because I've put it somewhere else, then join the group and take part in all the fun activities. We've got a different activity every day. And today's activity is actually this video. And of course, you can always post your photographs and get feedback on them on any of the threads that we have. So today is the day when I, Sab Will, the guy who takes photographs in Paris and publishes them every day with the text, shows you his photographs, he says, speaking in the third person rather pretentiously. So yeah, this is what I do. I've been in Paris for 25 years and I've always loved photography. And more than 25 years ago, when I came for the first time, that's when something clicked inside me, both in terms of Paris and photography. Something happened. I remember I was with a young lady who'd invited me to Paris, I think, and I got up at something like 5 o'clock in the morning because I had this dream that I was going to take this stunning photograph of the sun rising underneath the arch of the Eiffel Tower. This is how I'd calculated it. So I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which wasn't totally appreciated, dragged myself out there, my tripod, my big camera, all my fancy filters, and set myself up at the Trocadero, which is on the opposite side of the river to the Eiffel Tower, where I thought the sun would rise underneath the Eiffel Tower. It did actually, but 3 hours later, I calculated it wrongly. And so I was sitting there for ages. The sky got completely light. I thought, well, okay, the sun's got light, but the sky's got light, but they've decided to not bring the sun up today. And then eventually it did come up. But anyway, did the relationship last much longer after that? I'll leave that to your imagination. So we're going to get straight into this. The first half of this, the first 30 minutes or so, is me talking about this week's photographs. I take photographs of Paris all the time, and I publish one every day. My current project started on the 1st of January 2018, and the first volume of it, which is 2 years, the first volume is scheduled to finish on the 30th of December. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. And the next step and the last step in this project, because it's a huge project, one photo chronicle is 1 day. 7 of them, which I'll show you here. Let me see if I can share this with you. 7 of these photographs together, which looks like this, is a chapter. Okay, 9 photographs in a chapter. 9 chapters make up a book. 9 books make up a volume, and 1 volume is 729 photographs. And this is taking me 2 years. And my crazy idea is, and question in my head is, do I go to the next level of 9s, the next power of 9? Which would be 9 times 9 times 9 times 9, which would be 6,561 photographs, which would be about 18 years. And my big question was, will I be alive in 18 years' time? So I'm crossing my fingers that after the 30th of December, I decide to carry on because I want to, because it's just such fun. And then I cross my fingers. I haven't got anywhere to hide for the next 16 years. So there it is. So this is what a chapter looks like. And as I said, I'm going to tell you about my last 7 photographs. That's where I'm getting confused. These webinars are every 7 days, but my chapters are sets of 9 photographs. And I talk about my 7 latest photographs, and I'd like you to ask me questions if you want. You can come into the chat room with me here. You can come into the studio with me. I've put a link underneath this video where you should be watching it in the Creative Smartphone Photography group. There should be a link underneath this video. And if you click on it, you need to have a browser like Chrome or Firefox, and then you allow, you know, your microphone and stuff to be accessed, and you come into the studio and I let you in and you talk about the photographs with me. And the second half will be me looking at photographs that you've submitted during the week. So let's have a look. Let's go, shall we? And do say hello in the chat as well. It's always nice to have someone saying hello in the chat. So, are you ready? Thank you for watching. If you're watching on the replay, then thanks for watching this as well. And without further ado, this was the last time I did this Facebook Live, last Saturday. I stopped at this one here. Let me just go back down here. Yeah, I stopped at this one here, which was a bit of the Bastille, which you stumble across almost in a Paris metro station, the metro at Bastille, which isn't surprising. How amazing is that? Right, now I can talk about these. I'm actually thinking of doing a very short live thing every day on each daily photograph, which I'm thinking of calling. Give me an idea. Let me know if you think that's interesting or not. You don't have to watch these things, don't forget. But do you think artistically or in any other way it would be worth it? I'm thinking of doing a thing every day where I talk. You see, there's two parts to it. There's the pictures and then there's the text. And I'm thinking of calling it Techno Tips and Heart Hints. Techno Tips and Heart Hints. The techno bit is either technology or technique. So technique or technology tips on the photograph and the writing. And heart hints, if that's not too cringy, heart hints is more of the emotional side, the emotions that I'm trying to convey through the photograph and through the writing. So do let me know if you think that's an interesting idea, which is basically what I'm going to do here anyway. This one here was on the grill. I don't know if you say grill. I'm getting confused because French and English is getting confused in my head. On the railings. My English is coming back to me. The railings outside this kind of association building. I think it's something to do with Greece. In the background, it says Mise en Grec. And on the front, it says, basically, people walking by. If these gates are open, don't hesitate to come in, read, discuss something, picnic with us and anyone else who happens to be in the garden. So that's really pretty nice. I threw in an angle. Hey, surprise, surprise. There's a Facebook Live I did. I think it was on Wednesday, and the topic was angles. And I was saying that more of my photographs seem to have angles than not. Maybe you like them, maybe you don't, but it's my thing, apparently. I didn't really choose it. It kind of chose me. And that's what happens. If you get out there, photograph, show them to people, put them in our group, and you'll suddenly realize or slowly realize that a lot of your photographs seem to have a similar style. And this is you finding your style, or your style is finding you. So I really recommend, if you're swimming around a bit, you're not quite sure if you've got a style or what sort of photography you like, there's only one solution. Get out there and shoot photographs and it'll find you. It's a well-known thing in writing, in photography, in fashion, music, anything. Do something and the style will find you. Believe me, my friends. Tell me what you think of that. If you think it's nonsense or if you think it's true. But there's only way you can really prove it, and that's to do it. So this is an example. Well, there's writing. What do you do when there's a photograph with writing? Well, it depends on the writing, doesn't it? I've decided to fill the frame with the writing. One of the biggest problems people have in terms of photography and why their photographs are weak is because the subject is too small. It's either not clear, you just don't know what the subject is. You got a lump of green and a lump of blue with a little line in the middle, which is the horizon. Not that I'm thinking of anyone in particular. You wonder what the subject is. I mean, maybe you say, okay, the subject is, look, isn't it funny? Half of it's green and half of it's blue. Isn't that nice? Nature has just painted in two colors. Okay, if that's the subject, why not? But normally you want a subject, not just the landscape. So I made the subject this scruffy thing. I echoed it with writing behind it. Okay, echoes, repetition is always good to have. It's one of the strongest compositional elements to make a photo stronger, is to have a repetition of theme. Normally, the repetition will be different to the first one, the first occurrence, like weaker, smaller, fuzzier, several of them, but much smaller. So it's kind of that, there's writing behind. And then I've cropped in. There's nothing, there's a little bit of space on each side of the bottom of the scrap of paper, but that's it. And there's railings sticking out from all sides, which is like a frame. You see, a frame within a frame is another great way of making a photograph stronger. I haven't really exactly got a frame within a frame, but if you look at this piece of paper, there's bits of black railings all around it. So that is a kind of a frame, if you imagine. Yeah, so that's all I'm going to say about that. I applied some sort of effect to it, which made it sort of look oldie. This is really nice. I love this. So many of my photographs are of the Paris Metro somehow, but it's a theme which will last forever. It'll definitely last longer than me. When I say a theme, I mean the possibility for taking photographs of the Paris Metro, which haven't been taken before, is always there. I'll never run out. It'll be me that runs out, not the Metro that runs out of things to offer me. And you can think about it of your town as well. The limit isn't your town, even if it's a simple little town. I live in a little town near Paris. And I'm thinking of doing a project next year, a one-year project, where I take a photograph a day of this little town. And you just mustn't limit yourself to, taking a picture of the stupid church. You can take a picture, that's it, that's one day. What about the other 364? No, you've got to look for the little details, the little saint hidden in a little nook and cranny somewhere, the peeling paint on the door, the, smoke coming out of the chimney, whatever. So obviously Paris and the Metro is a huge topic. So is your town, so is your train station system or whatever. The one thing I picked out on this as a matter of interest, at one point I was doing a series of really interesting Paris Metro signs, because they're not all the same. There are some classic ones, the Art Nouveau, but there are some, there's like more than 300 metro stations in Paris. They're not all the same. And I was doing this collection of my top 10 favorite metro signs. And look at this. It's nothing like your typical Art Nouveau sign. And the funny thing about this is, it's actually the style that was used when the name Metro was cut into metal. And you had to have these little strips of metal here. You see like the R there and the O. Those are in red. Those little strips of metal, red strips going through the O, are actually to hold the middle piece of metal in place, which is quite funny. And the same for this entrée. It's not metal; it's just written on the side. But they've kept that typeface, so that's great. I really like it. Then you've got the guy who's coming up. I was going to say he's perfectly placed. Well, he is placed. I chose the photograph where he is just nicely framed by that bright yellow bit, and that contrast, that little square down there, that contrasts very nicely with the colder grey of the brickwork and the outside. You can see the outside edge is almost blue. That's the contrast between outside lighting or cloudy daylight, which is very bluish, and the contrast of warm inside lighting. And then there's a very nice contrast between the two bits of red, which are like that, and the block of yellow. Red and yellow are very strong colors. They go very well together, as McDonald's know. Yeah, just one more thing on that guy. What time? I've just got a feeling I talk so much, and then suddenly I'm on photograph 2 of 7, and it's past. So yeah, there you go. A quarter of the way in already. You still alive? What was I going to say? I can't. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, okay, yeah. The guy. You got a person in the photograph. It's normally nice, as a general rule, to have the person moving into space, and there is space to move into in the photograph. He's off on the edge, but he's heading into the photograph. Just another thing to bear in mind. Whenever you have a person in the photograph, just bear that in mind. It doesn't always work. You might want someone with their nose pressed up against the edge of the photograph, for all I know. But as a general rule, think about that. Like a portrait. A portrait, you normally have more space in front of the person's face than behind their head. Okay, so there's that one. Another metro photograph. What a surprise. Here's one. It's in the metro, but it's a musician. Now, this one made me think of I don't know if you get this. Do you have musicians in where you are? Let me know if you, in the chat, if you do. Even if you're watching the recording, let me know, because I'll see the comments. Do you have musicians in your metro system? This guy's an official one. But in the trains, in the metro trains, something that really struck me when I first came here, almost every stop, you've either got a musician coming on or a musician coming off, or someone asking for money. This guy is official, because you can see here, it says musicians of the metro, something like that. So he's official, he's got a badge, and he's got the right to do it. The other people haven't, but they still do it. And I often think about these people, because as a musician, as any sort of artist, you want to share your work and you want to get a reaction. And most of the time, people are just walking past, not giving a damn. Or maybe they do, but they just don't have time, or they don't want to catch his eye, or they'll think he'll ask for money and it's awkward. I often think about that. I've got this kind of dream. I'd like to be a musician in the metro or somewhere. I don't have the skills to play an instrument at the moment, but I bought this musical drum, and my dream is to play my musical drum. You just bong it, dong, 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 dong. You bong this musical drum when you're able to bong it reasonably nicely. And my dream is to sit on the Pont des Arts, the most beautiful romantic bridge in Paris, on a Sunday in the summer, with my little paintings. I was going to show you, but it's collapsed. My little paintings in front of me. There is one over there. I don't know if you can see on the shelf there above my finger. It's a little painting. No, I'll show you. If it doesn't collapse. Okay, this is an example. So I want to have loads of my little desktop paintings, which are called Infinity Squared, in front of me, around my feet, and be bonging my drum and become this kind of weird Paris guy, that weird guy who bongs his musical drum and has his Infinity Squared paintings all around. You see that it's separate. You can actually take these and rearrange them. Anyway. So that's what goes on in my head, and that's what inspires my text sometimes when I'm writing my text. That's what happens. These people rushing by with their suitcases, they're a blur, and there's the guy playing his accordion. Here's an example of one of those iron curtain things that comes down. It wouldn't stop people breaking the glass during the weekly riots or the strikes, but I guess it would stop them getting into the shop. And it's this thing that comes down like this, covers the window. But the great thing is they often keep the windows lit. It's not so good for the environment, or at least you can see what's in the window. And you often see these strange things. And because you've got this kind of nicely shaped iron curtain, you can get some nice patterns, nice framing. Again, it's frames within a frame, you see. When I was setting this up in my mind, do I include all of the metal bits so it's a perfect frame within a frame or not? But if I'd done that, the elephants would have become smaller, and there would have been some other elements around which would have kind of detracted from the elephants. I wanted the elephants to be the subject. So I got the two elephants. You see there's a mum and a baby or something, and they're together and they're framed by this thing, and never mind for the right-hand side. And then I applied some sort of explosion of color on it to make it a bit more interesting, a bit more fun. And there it is. And these little details, this is what I was saying. The place where you photograph isn't the limit, it's your imagination. And these days, with a smartphone as well, where all the applications and stuff have, you know, again, multiplied the possibilities by infinity, there's not really any excuse. So there, for example, I could have looked at the shop and said, yeah, well, I'm not going to take a picture of a shop window. But if you zoom in, I mean, like with your legs, you walk towards it and you look through those little perfect natural frames, all of a sudden there's these funny little scenes going on. I mean, what is a mother and a baby elephant doing in a shop in downtown Paris? So look for the tiny details as well as the big picture. That's another thing that can give you some interesting topics. Right, 3 more of this, then we move on to your photographs. How are we doing for time? We're doing perfectly for time. It's amazing. And I haven't even had a sip of my coffee. I'm a bit of a fan of mugs. I don't know about you guys. Oh my God, I've got some comments and it's not telling me that I've got them. Thanks, Tinkutsa. Do you always have a subject? What's a subject? If there's no subject, I mean, if the photograph is green, grass, blue sky, and maybe something in the middle, is that the subject? What's the definition of a subject? I guess it's something that stands out from the rest. You know, you take a picture of a person, the person is obviously the subject. You can have a black, dark background behind them or a white background, so there's no background. So the subject is the photograph. Or you can have environmental portraiture, where the subject is clearly the person, but they are somewhere, in which case the somewhere is not the subject and the person is the subject. I mean, normally a living thing will be the subject. You know, you've got an insect crawling along a wall. The insect is probably going to be the subject. Makes sense. But you can get more subtle. You know, it can be more subtle than that. That's blindingly obvious. You've got a person and not much else, then that's the subject. But I mean, what do you want the person to look at? What is the point of taking the photograph if there's no clear subject, no clear reason for it? Then it's a snap, isn't it? You know, you go like that. You might have the Eiffel Tower somewhere in the distance. You might say, yeah, the Eiffel Tower is the subject, but you haven't highlighted it. You haven't made it the subject. You haven't honored it. It's just in the background with everything else, with the benches and the rubbish bins and, you know, somebody's head and a lamppost. So a strong photograph will have a strong subject normally. That's why when someone takes a picture of a field, a landscape, often there's a huge amount of foreground with nothing in it. And normally the subject in a landscape should be in the foreground, near you and bigger and clear, like sharp. And the background may or may not be fuzzy. So yeah, do you always have a subject? You know, normally, yeah. What else? That sounds nice about the small town project. I also live in a small town, but can already see the photographic potential. Yeah, well, I've already said what I wanted to say on that. Yeah, like, I mean, let's do it together. I've told the town hall and a couple of people that I might be doing a photograph a day of this little town, 5,000 people. It's got a church, it's got a town hall, it's got a few streets. How the hell am I going to take 365 really interesting photographs of a town hall, you know, a church and a couple of little streets? Oh, there's a train station. Aha, a train station. But, well, there's the challenge. There's the challenge. So you can do it. You can do it. The only limit is here. I've got someone who's saying bonjour. I'm going to see if I can see who it is because I can't see it in that program. I'm going to see if I can see it in this one. Yanara or Yaruska. Hi, Yaruska. Thanks for watching. That's great. Is this the first time you're watching live? I know you don't speak too much English, so es la primera vez que miras in live. Wow, my Spanish is so amazing, isn't it? Beautiful Dream says Tinkutsa. Not sure why. Maybe because of the colors on the elephants. My favorite is the photo with the elephants. Wonderful colors and details. Yeah, the danger with special effects is people think that it's great because of the special effects and not because of anything else. So you've got to be careful with special effects. But I mean, I take a photo every day, so I have to kind of use a few different things. Otherwise, I get bored, and sometimes it needs a little boost to make it a bit more interesting. It's not really cheating, because these are the creative tools we have today. You know, the creative tools we had in the past, we don't think they're cheating, but they were creative tools and tricks for the day, weren't they? So, you know, work with what we've got. We've got apps. Well, let's use apps. The only danger is don't make the app take over in importance from the photograph itself. You start with a crap photograph, you can apply all the apps you want to it. You know, crap, I mean boring subject or no subject, poorly composed, no sort of repetition of theme, or no interaction between anything. It's a crap photograph, it's a snap, and you can make it multicolored or rainbowish or sepia, it'll still be a crap photograph. All right, so a couple more here. This is my every 10 daily self-portrait. And my self-portraits are called Creative Disintegration. It's a project I kind of casually started seriously about 15 years ago, before selfies, before smartphones, before any of that stuff. So I don't call them selfies. They're not selfies, they're self-portraits. And my challenge is to prove that to you. It's not just, oh, think I'll, you know, no, it's not that. Every single photograph must be different. I can't take another self-portrait or selfie, if you like, which is similar to any others, apart from the fact that I'm in it. So, I mean, I could make myself tiny in it. I could make myself just my eye or just my head. Then you've got all the props you can use. You've got places that will change, interact with the place you're in. You can have other people in the shot, you know. As long as you're in it, it's kind of a self-portrait or selfie, isn't it? And again, I mean, I take 99.9% of these myself. I'm actually holding the camera. So that's a kind of, it's easy. You only need your camera. But the challenge of being creative in every single selfie that you let out there, that you publish, is infinite. The challenge is infinite. I challenge you to not publish two selfies that look similar. Do something different. Why publish another picture of you going like this or like this or whatever? Why? You've done it before. Change something. Yeah, you can change the expression as well. Of course you can. This is a mug that I got from a store in Britain, which is called it's called Poundland. And apparently everything in there costs £1. And it's nice because it says this mug costs £1. And in English slang, a mug is an idiot. Amazing value every day. So obviously there's some self-derision in there, implying that you could buy this mug here for £1. I mean, you can. If anyone has £1, please, I'd be very happy to accept it, and you can do with me what you will. There's two more. There's two more in this week's, and these are unpublished because I'm 2 days behind. As you can see up here, we normally have if I show you here, down below you have the same photographs with the text, you see? This one, for example, looks like that. Let me put something else here on the bottom. Ask questions in the chat, how about that? Or is that too big? Is that covering up the photograph? I'm trying to find my, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so those are the ones with text. Up at the top of each chapter, you have the big one here, and you have the one with the text as well. As you can see here, it's not done yet. It's still coming soon. So those are the last two this week. Here's one. It's a cafe scene, of which there are lots in Paris. You know, there's always people sitting in cafes and stuff. I like these two ladies. Not only are they surrounded by all these yellow stuff, there's these two parasols, which are a repetition of theme, if you notice. And then you've got these two ladies who both have this long silver hair, which was grey or silver hair, possibly tinged purple, both of them. So you have to wonder what their relationship is. They're both wearing black tops, both got long silver but purpley tinged hair, I think. And you just wonder, what are they? Sisters, lovers, a couple of grandmothers? Do they do this every week? Is this their thing? But there's a certain style to them. There's a certain chic, maybe a Parisian chic. And this road is a chic Parisian road down in the 14th, Rue Daguerre. And you've got very posh, you know, those sort of cheese shops that smell, and you've got fruit shops where every single apple has been perfectly polished and placed. So it's a really nice little, and there's no traffic. So maybe, you know, just intriguing. And this is where the technique bit comes in. I don't go up to people and stick my camera in their face, you know, sort of, okay, I'm just going to take your photograph. No. So I might be pretending that I'm on the phone, you see, like this, ready to take it with my finger, and I click and do a little click, and I've got them, which is often why there's a little bit of an angle in there. The angle, again, it moves it away from reality. My photographic aim is to create images which are halfway between grim reality. And if you take a normal shot, it's very often grim. You know, it's grey, it's not very exciting. So I bump up the colors, and I want to move it towards a kind of a fantasy land. And the angle does that. You know, it's just slightly left to center, slightly, you know, a bit strange, not quite what it should be. You've got those two umbrellas are leaning slightly into the shot, which kind of closes off that top right-hand side. And there's a kind of tapering effect as well from the big umbrella, the big parasol, to the small one, tapering off into that corner. And then you've got the slant of where it says Café Daguerre going down, the slant. So it isn't exactly in line with the top of the photograph. Why should it be? You know, tilt it so that you create angles within your photograph. And then you've got the two seats up front, which is, I mean, there's a lot going on there. There's an awful lot of chairs and chair legs and tables. But, you know, what is the subject here? You know, Tim Kutsu, you might say, what is the subject then? Is there a subject? Yeah. I mean, I guess the subject is the two ladies. But the chairs and the yellow, there's two big chairs near you. There's two big parasols, and there's two ladies. Maybe the subject is twos, pairs. Two big chairs, two ladies with grey hair, two orangey yellow parasols. Maybe the subject is the conceptual idea of pairs. I don't know. And the last one in this week's series is this. What on earth is this? Any ideas? Well, I'll tell you what it is. I think it's called a lantern, the lantern of something or other. What it is Paris is full of curiosities. That's why I love it. And this is one of them. And I discovered it the other day after 25 years here. All you have to do is take some of the back streets that you haven't taken before, and soon enough, you will stumble upon something you haven't seen before. And I knew these things existed because I've taken photographs of others of them. But I hadn't seen this one. I'd forgotten its existence. And it's superb. It's beautiful. It's this huge bell-type structure with the little thingy on top. And right on top, I don't know if you can see right on top. You see that there? It's a pigeon. Yeah. And this is on a hill towards the outside of Paris. And this hill called, it's maybe called Ménilmontant or Belleville, the heights of Belleville. was well known for its natural springs. You might imagine if it's on a hill, it would be even further down to get the water. But it was well known for natural springs, water coming up to the surface, fresh, beautiful water. And so they built ways of getting to these springs to get the water. But they had to check that the access was still okay from time to time. It wasn't blocked, or someone hadn't fallen down there and died. So they had these things, they called them regards. Well, in French, regard, les regards. Regard means regard, means what? Look. So they're looks, lookout posts kind of thing. So on the other side of this, there's a door. You go down, down to the natural spring, or it might be a sort of aqueduct, which brings water into Paris, maybe. It depends. This one probably goes down to a spring. Can you imagine how spooky that would be? And it's still there, and I guess it's still working. And it's absolutely beautiful. I love it. In the middle of tower blocks, you see this tower block on the right there, and yet there it is. This, and on the left, you see, I made this stronger and played around with the colors, and I made the colors on outside very soft and pale. But it's surrounded by tower blocks. How I was going to say anachronistic is that? I'm not sure if it's the word. There's a bench down here on the left, framing the bottom corner, because when you put an angle in, you make a space, you make a hole in the photograph. I did this, I tilted it, and suddenly there's a hole in the bottom left. What do you do with that? And it's near you as well, so it's quite big. Well, I filled it with a bench. It's not a very beautiful bench, but at least it's not just an empty hole of nothingness. As soon as you have a bit of a corner with an angle, and there's not much in it, ask yourself if you could put anything in it. It could be the edge of a flower, or not somebody's head probably. And yeah, so there it is. So that's my effort for this week. I hope you like it. And I'm very quickly getting to the end of this volume 1. You see, this is chapter 8. Nothing has been written yet. Chapter 9 is here. Obviously nothing there yet. You see, number 721 to 729. When I get to 729, that will be 9 times 9 times 9. 9 books with 9 chapters of 9 photographs. And that'll be the end of volume 1. As soon as those are filled up, that's it. December 30th. Time to start a new volume, and off we go. Right, let's move on to your photographs. Now, I'm not quite sure where to go here. There you go. I'm about 10 seconds behind, you see? That's the actual video that we're watching. I shouldn't be doing that because it's killing my bandwidth. Right, so let me just take you through some of the things you can do as well on the side in the group. Sabinar Saturdays when I do what I'm doing here. In the announcements, you see there's 4 announcements. So the first announcement will be the latest day's theme. Here you can see that it says Sabinar Saturday. And that's where you can leave comments, anything you want me to talk about in today's theme. Then you will have access to the last live Facebook video, which exists. Okay, you want to catch up on it, it'll be in the announcements. So I'll put this one in as soon as I've finished. Then you have Mystery Monday. This is the week's theme. That's always in the announcements as well. And it's currently doors. Let's have a little peek, shall we? And see if anyone's, oh, and then you have the smile and say hello. Also in the announcements, it's for new members to introduce themselves with a little smiley. All right, so let's just reload. Let's reload this. We'll skip the announcements and we should get to, okay, there's the live video as it's happening. Mystery Monday. So it's doors. Let's see if anyone's contributed anything. This one is amazing. I shouldn't be talking about this now, but I can't help myself. Look at this photograph. It is so beautiful. Let me get rid of this. It's absolutely gorgeous. You might be saying, yeah, but the theme is doors, not bikes. But look behind the bike. The bike is framed by this scrap of a door. This desperate X door. How amazing is that? It's absolutely beautiful. Plus, Jaruska's played around with the colors, and yeah, I love it. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'll talk about that on Monday. 𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵 has sent this one in. She sent two, actually. We had a door of her. Let's see if I can find her other one. We had an amazing photograph of her door, and she went all the way from her bed to get this photograph. There it is. And what's funny with this is she's thrown in a huge angle, surprise, surprise, and yet look at the top of the door. It's actually completely almost parallel to the top of the photograph, but the bottom isn't. Isn't that interesting? It's a lesson in perspective, because although the top of the door is completely straight, the bottom is at a very extreme angle. So it shows what happens with perspective. And the two lines here are pretty much parallel. Very interesting shot. So thanks for struggling into your bed to take that one for us, 𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵. Very, very good effort there. This is 𝘱𝘰𝘮𝘰𝘵 as well. So I'm not talking about it. I'll talk about it more on Monday. Lovely treatment there and a beautifully symmetrical shot. Here we've got Maurice. Again, there's a reflection. It's a door selfie, she says. Door selfie. Is that a dog behind her or something? Then this is another example from me, just to show you another way of looking at doors. It's a bit of a door, but not just any door. It's got amazing colors. It's got stuck-on graffiti and scrappy graffiti. It's got incredible texture. The angles are just amazing. Look at all that texture. Take a walk down your place, you know, maybe if you've got a canal or something, very often near the canal or the areas which are not so upkept, you'll find graffiti ghettos. Don't go anywhere dangerous, but you'll find that that's where you get some amazing stuff, especially in railways, roundabout railway sidings, you know, places that aren't normally frequented. Then or under bridges, especially under bridges as well, you'll find lots of textures and lots of interesting graffiti. And it doesn't have to be the whole door, you see. It's just this bit of the door. Hinges are good. Rusty old hinges. Peeling paint. Okay, then we get on to 𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵. This is 𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵 again. And it's another door. It's a lovely textured door. And there she seems to be going for the sun almost skimming across the front of it to bring out the texture. There's... What is this? There's a kind of spooky arm thing coming in. That is so horrible. Oh my God. It's like there's a ghost hand about to grab hold of the handle and open it. That is great. Oh my God. I hadn't seen that before. All right. What else? Do give me any comments as well. And comments if you're watching on the replay. Thanks for watching. And leave your comments as well. I'll still see them. Yeah, and I'll still answer questions, or other people can answer questions. So as you're watching on the replay, feel free to ask questions, to make comments. That's fine. All right, this is me Thursday. We had a couple of people contributing. Remember, on Thursday, you contribute. The deal is, because it's the Creative Smartphone Photography Group, I'm encouraging you to take photographs as often as you can. Get used to it. In terms of the selfie, get used to and comfortable with and creative about just taking spontaneous shots of yourself. It doesn't have to be you. You don't have to be looking beautiful. It can be the edge of your ear, you know, or your mouth, or you could be a tiny, tiny reflection in a bunch of reflected mirrors. It doesn't matter. It's just stimulating your creativity. So I encourage, with your links to anything you like, anything you want to promote, anything you want to point us towards, your new site, your old site, special deal that you have, doesn't matter. Do it. And the price of doing that is a selfie. Susan, our winner from last week's competition, remember, offered this incredible thing. And this is I wonder what happens if I say full screen. Oops. I wonder if it goes even bigger. Gets rid of her enter full screen. This might break everything. No, it doesn't really go much bigger, does it? It's pretty much the same size as before. I'm going to press escape. All right. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so I was looking at this and I thought, that is wild. What is it? Is it a reflection? Is it a shadow? Is it both? Is it, I don't know. It's really quite strange. But I kind of saw a hat here and a leg down in the bottom and another leg possibly going off to the top there. And what I thought was funny was that this leaf is a bit like, you know, in the Adam and Eve with the fig leaf covering the areas which shouldn't be exposed. And I thought it was a bit like that. It's quite funny. Like she's squatting down, but she put a leaf there. So you couldn't see any naughty bits of the shadow. And she said it was serendipitous. She didn't notice, the leaf placed was serendipitous. Well, I mean, I only imagined that. It's obviously, let's see what it is. It's a shadow. Could it also be a shadow in a puddle? I'm not sure. I don't think it's a reflection. I think it's a shadow. Honestly, what does she say? Didn't really. Looked at the shots later. I had time to edit. Have to admit, a couple of them had the leaf stem extending my body precisely from you know where. Nice. I remember my son did my daughter did a picture of me once with clearly labeled Daddy, and it was this kind of stick. It was this kind of stick man with his legs like this. Anyway, so there was this kind of thing. Everything was the size of a line, by the way, the arms and legs. So don't draw any conclusions from this. And from between my legs, there was this kind of pencil line descending like this. And it was clearly labeled Daddy. So Angelina, aged 5 or something. So I think that's what Susan is alluding to here. Although being a woman, that would also be kind of strange. So there it is. 𝘱𝘰𝘵𝘵𝘱𝘰𝘵 offered this. Now what she's done is she saw can you see those little beady things here? She saw a spider's web, and the spider's web had beads of water on it. And this is a challenge. What do you do? It's pretty classic, you know, you see a beautiful picture of a spider's web with beads of water. She somehow, doesn't always happen, she managed to focus on what was behind it, which has turned the beaded spider's web blurry, which is a nice effect. What might happen though is if the spider's web is obvious enough, the camera will focus on one of those drops and that'll be sharp and what is behind will be fuzzy. It's a choice. Sometimes it's a choice which you can make in your head, but it's not always that easy to get what you want sharp, especially with smartphones, because with a big fancy camera, it's easier. You can do it manually, or you can point at a very specific thing and then say, that's what I want sharp. With this, the thing that you can try and do is press on the iPhone. I have to find out what it is, how you do it on other phones. Please tell me if you've got a Samsung or any of the others. How do you focus? In the iPhone, you just press the screen on what you want to be sharp and it'll go sharp on that, theoretically. However, how do you press on a tiny, tiny little bead of water on a smartphone screen? Already your finger, the end of your finger, is going to be much bigger than the bead of water. So not so easy. She could have moved the phone slightly. I think there's a tree there, which is probably what the spider's web is attached to. You could probably move the phone to have the tree in the shot and put your finger on the tree. That'll make the tree and probably the spider's web in focus. Then there might be a way, if you keep your finger there, I think that fixes the focus. You can then reframe with the spider's web still in focus, take the shot, and it'll be a sharp spider's web with fuzzy people in the background. Probably that will happen, because smartphones, their general setting is to try and get everything sharp, you know, especially for people who just can't get anything sharp. It's not a bad idea. But the thing is, what if you do want something's not sharp? But if you're focusing on something really near the lens and you get it in focus, there's a good chance the background will be fuzzy. So great, thanks for that. I was wondering if she was actually in the shot, but she said the shot, she was taking the shot, so I don't think she is. Thought it might have been her there, you see, with the black hair. Okay, Feedback Friday is where you ask for feedback on things. And look, here's something from 𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵. This was interesting. Oh, look, it's a shot which is bottom half green, top half blue and white. Isn't that interesting? So in terms of the subject, we're looking for one, aren't we? And 𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵 said, I found one. And she'd found this tiny little cloud here, which is actually really, really cute. It looks like a snail that's lost its shell. The trouble is, it's tiny. You know, it's probably about 1/100th of the shot. So what on earth can you do? She was absolutely right to say what she said. Would it be a good idea to trim the bottom? Oh, just a little bit, you know, and just leave the tree line and more of the sky. Well, try it and see what you think. See if you think it looks stronger. For example, I take square shots, and if this were my shot, the sky is amazing. So I would probably crop it to square only from the bottom, right? Leave the whole of the sky, crop from the bottom to the point where it's a square photograph. Bam, you'll have a little strip of green and a big block of blue and white sky. Plus, you'll have that really funny little cloud there. I didn't do that as an example. I just wanted to see how big I could make the cloud. Because it's the cloud that is funny. Look. Unfortunately, it's very small. Maybe I can make it artificially bigger, but the quality will get even worse. So I don't know the resolution of 𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵's original photograph. That's about as much as I can do without it going too crazy. Yeah, I don't know how big the original photograph was, but if it was huge, then you might have enough pixels to make that a reasonable photograph. Yeah, it's possible. You know, if you've got a really high resolution camera, like 3000 or 4000 pixels, that might still be, you know, around about 1000 pixels wide or 800. That's still a really nice photograph on a computer screen. And you've got this funny little creature here. I did spot something as I was cropping. I made it longer because the creature, the cloud creature, which seems to have a beaked head and stuff, little head, little bump, then a little tail. That is long. So why not have the photograph echoing its longness? And a slight repetition, which I found, was in the trees here, they seem to be bigger at the front. Can you see my mouse there? Why can't you see my mouse? Oh, there it is. It seems to be bigger at the front, or especially maybe this one, and it tails off smaller here. So that's a kind of an echo there of what's happening here. It's not a lot, it's not a big one, but I spotted it, put it that way. I spotted it, which means at least one person spotted that. Bigger on the left, going down on the right. The trees are bigger on the left, go down on the right. Always looking for that element of repetition to make the photograph stronger. So that's fun. That's a really nice one. And well done for, you know, thinking, how can I make this better? Is there any way you could have zoomed in to get that bigger? I mean, one thing with zooming is be very, very careful. If you have a camera, this camera here has 2 lenses. 1, 2. Some these days have 3 or 4 for all I know. And often, why are there 4 lenses or 2? Well, it's because they have a different focal length. So you've got one that is effectively a zoom. You can't really zoom on a smartphone. You know, it's not very practical to zzz. But so what they've started doing is offering you different fixed lenses in the camera. You've got one that is wider angle, takes more stuff in. Then there's another one you can switch over to it, and it's a more narrow lens. But what it does is you don't lose the pixels, because the worst thing you can possibly do is to try and zoom by by doing the, you know, the thing like that on the screen. You do that, you might think you're zooming. You're not really. You're just making the photo so big that you can only see the middle bits, but you're not getting any more. You're losing pixels. You know, you take that photograph, you've got hardly any pixels. It'll be horrible and pixelated. So try and get away from that by, if you do manage to have a camera with two lenses, then for a shot like this, you spot that little cloud, definitely make sure you're on the zoom lens, the longer lens. The other thing you can do, actually, that exists, it's a thing you attach to the camera, and it's basically, it's a magnifying glass. So it makes this lens, you know, it's like a thing like that. You attach it on the edge, zip, and it's a zoom lens. It makes your image much bigger without losing pixels, because it's optical. It's not digital. It's not a digital zoom. So if you're really into that sort of thing, you could buy one of those. And it looks kind of weird walking around with your smartphone with a big sort of hooter on it, but that's a way of zooming in much better without losing pixels. All right, couple of. Okay, Tim Kutz is saying, thanks for the feedback. Great tips. Thank you. Hope they're helpful. All right, and I'm just going through. You see, this is what I'll do. Every week, I'll go through to see what photographs I haven't honored. You know, people are contributing. Well, I want to make sure that at some point I do say something about them. This is back on the angles topic from Wednesday. A late entry here. And it's Alice. She's saying, yeah, there's a definite angle there. Oh, no, it's me saying there's a definite angle there, Alice, obviously. Only a slight angle, she says, but shows some Christmas cheer. Yeah, maybe if you've had a few too many of those Bombay Sapphire, London Dry Gin. Wow. You probably would be a little bit like this, I would think. And she's got the kind of an echo of some green thing behind it. I don't know what it is. But so it's not just one thing that's leaning, there's two, which is quite nice. Looks like a Christmas buffet. And we're getting to the end, everybody. 2 or 3 more minutes. Let's see if there's any other photographs I want to mention. No, everything. Those are the wonderful blue ones. So listen, I've got this weird website called the Blue Room, blueroom.blue. Can you imagine? Blueroom.blue. Go and have a look. It exists. And every now and then I will put blue photographs or blue paintings or anything blue, even a blue, a song about blue, blue naughty photos, not necessarily doing that, although I think that's what some people think it's about, you know. So I'm going to ask you if I can put your blue photographs on the blueroom.blue website. And there's also a Facebook page, which is called, I think it's called Blue Room. There's a page and a group for people who love blue. One of my many projects. So that's what is going to happen to, someone's asking to join the thing. I'm going to let him in. And he was invited a few seconds ago, and he will maybe catch the end of this. I don't know. The thing with inviting people is try to send them to the group and they hit join. Okay, it's the best way, because then they have to answer a question to join. Just saying they agree to the rules and stuff. Okay, so please send people to the page and ask them to join, but don't invite them, because then they join immediately if I let them, but they haven't answered the question. Okay, so we are getting to the end. It is the end. It's been fun. I hope you've got something out of this. It was the Sabinar Saturday, the day I spend half of the time talking about my 7 latest photographs from Paris, the other half talking about your photographs again. Thank you for joining me, and I'll generally do this every Saturday. Logistics can sometimes jump on me. Today I have to go out, so I thought I would do it earlier. But then that lets people from Australia see it, or Japan, or, you know, instead of always America and Europe, hopefully. So if I'm awake, hopefully Europe can see it. So I will say goodbye. Thank you to those of you who were able to join me live. I really appreciate it. And of course, you won't always be able to, but For some reason, I always seem to find something to say. Why is that? Maybe I just like talking to myself. So that's it for this time. And I will say bye-bye. It's 1 hour and 7 seconds. This will be available as a replay in your Facebook group. Join the Facebook group. Let me just put a couple of banners up to finish off with. What have we got here? We've got this one, which goes along the bottom. Join the Facebook group. It's free. Creative Smartphone Photography. You look for it and you'll find it. Facebook.com/groups/creative smartphone photography. Join the group and contribute your photographs. Enjoy the daily themes. Watch the Facebook Lives. Come on as a guest, because I don't want to be all on my own anymore. Contribute themes. You have an idea for a theme for a week? Tell me what it is. Oh, I've got a new viewer. So maybe it's the person I've just let into the group. Hello, welcome, and bye-bye, because it's the end. But thanks, Yaruska, for inviting your friends. But I do want them to join through the join button, if possible. And that is probably it. What else have we got here? You can, very soon there will be a website where I'm going to tell you about not only the group, but the 5-day challenges which are coming. I've got a 5-day photographic challenge. It's free and it's in the group in January. The topic is a surprise. 5 days of fun photo taking around one theme. And there will be more. In February, I'm doing a big, amazing photo course. It'll last about 9 weeks and it'll be the only photo course you will ever need to do, ever, plus with the group and everything, to take amazing photographs on your smartphone. And that might be called Creative Smartphone Photography Masterclass. Very inventive, I know, but, you know, trying to keep it focused there. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching. And, oh, I've got just one comment coming in. Merci, Sab. 𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵. I'm just going to see who it is, just to say hello. Who is that going to be? 𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵. Oh, Yaruska says, thanks, Sab. I'm waking up. 𝘱𝘰𝘴𝘵, I'm waking up. Great. All right. So maybe it wasn't Yaruska watching all the time. Okay. Bye for now. Thank you. And get out there and shoot. Anything you find in your town is a good target, and post it in the group. Bye for now, and see you on Monday for the Mystery Monday and the new theme, and talking about the old theme, doors. Bye-bye.